Welcome in to Texans Today. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and had a crazy watch party. If you were there, if you know, you know. But the Texans pull off a dub, 23-20 up against Jacksonville, and I'm not going to lie, folks. It wasn't pretty. This was not a pretty win by your Houston Texans, but at the end of the day, a win is a win. And I'm trying to rack it in my head right now how to feel after that Texans win, because you won the game, but at the end of the day, you still let the Jags kind of stick around and stay in there. CJ Stroud had a decent game. Mac Jones ended up finishing the game because of a hit that we'll talk about later on between him and Azeez Al-Shaair that has everybody up in arms online. But at the end of the day, the Texans get a win. And it was much needed because the Colts got a win as well today up against the New England Patriots. So you getting this win meant a ton going forward, looking into the playoff picture. Texans finally win going into the bye week as well, as you have a absolute gauntlet coming up. 3 games in 10 days. I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm not going to lie to you folks. It's going to be an uphill battle. And like I said, the Texans, I don't know how to feel, because they got away by the skin of their teeth. They got out of this game and they got a win. And it was getting close into territory of them, fumbling this game away. And there's been talk about Bobby Slowik. There's been talk about the coaching staff and this team as a whole. I want to know from y'all, though, grade the Texans' offensive performance up against Jacksonville. Let me know. A, B, C, D, or F. Go down in the comment section. Let your voice be heard. Be honest with me. Let me know your grade for the Texans' offense up against Jacksonville. A, B, C, D, or F. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, perfect timing. Scroll on down and let me know your thoughts. C+? I don't know. It's hard because, you didn't turn the ball over, which is good, but you let this Jacksonville team back in it. And CJ Stroud still looks out of sorts. I don't know what we need to do to get CJ Stroud to have that confidence, have that swagger back. It wasn't back today. He was looking good. He made some good throws. Don't get me wrong. This isn't an indictment on CJ Stroud, me saying he sucks or me saying he's not good. He just doesn't have his swagger. And I don't know what he needs to do to get it back. Joe Mixon, the savior for the Texans today, 20 carries, 101 yards. He looked fantastic. This offense, though, and it's weird because the offensive line looked better today. There was plenty of times where CJ Stroud had a pretty clean pocket and he wasn't able to find anybody downfield. And you look at the numbers, nothing jumps off the page of the Texans were bad on offense. They had 326 yards, 22 of 34 in the passing game, 218 yards, 108 yards on the ground, 4.3 yards per carry. So not horrible there, even though this is inflated a little bit because Joe Mixon had 3 huge runs. And I want to say if you take those 3 runs out, he probably averaged 2 yards a carry. But at the end of the day, Joe Mixon was able to get it done, get that first down at the end of the game. The Texans led the time of possession, but let's get into what everybody's going to be talking about. Everybody's going to be talking about one thing and one thing only, and that is the hit on Trevor Lawrence from Azeez Al-Shaair. And I said it during my live show, and it's hard because the NFL, it's a violent game. Let's face facts. You're playing a gladiator sport in the NFL. There's a reason why these guys are all wearing helmets and shoulder pads and tons of protective gear, because you were playing a very harmful game. Do I think it was a late hit by Al-Shaair? I do. And the only way this isn't me saying Al-Shaair's a horrible person, a dirty player. This isn't me saying that. But in that instance, I do think it was the wrong decision for Al-Shaair. Not only in a health and safety point for Trevor Lawrence, but, in a meaningful game where the Texans, if they lost this game, they would be in trouble. You get ejected. You get ejected with that hit. And Al-Shaair, I love his intensity. I love how he plays. But I can't defend that hit at the end of the day because taking off my Texans goggles, if that same hit was applied to C.J. Stroud, and be honest with yourself, Texans fans, if that same hit was applied to C.J. Stroud, you'd be upset. If C.J. Stroud got hit like that by, Lloyd or, Olakun, one of the Jaguars linebackers, I'd be pissed. I would be pissed because it means probably Lawrence is going to be out for another couple weeks. His first game back, I mean, he got rocked, and you could obviously see from the get he was not going to be able to make it back into the game. He was not going to come back into the game. He got absolutely rocked on that play by Azeez Al-Shaair. Did he slide late? Maybe. Maybe he did. But at the end of the day, this is a new era of football. This is a new era of the NFL, and those hits don't fly anymore. I do have to say this. Ryan Clark, you talking about the Azeez Al-Shaair hit and talking about, oh, this is the worst thing ever. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black, Ryan Clark. Are you serious, man? You were a headhunter with the Steelers. That was your thing. That was your shtick. You absolutely laid people out. And for you to go on social media and act all high and mighty and righteous because now you're a talking head, I think it's a little buffoonery to me. I think you are acting out because you're in a place where now you can kind of sit back and kind of judge these players from an eye in the sky and be like, oh, I would never have done that. But the thing is, Ryan Clark, we have tape. You 100% would have done that. You made 10 times worse as hits as Azeez Al-Shaair. So this is one of those things where it's like, are you wrong necessarily? Nah, I mean, Ryan, you're on the right track because I don't agree with the hit either. But coming from Ryan Clark, how about you sit this one out, bud? Maybe you don't talk about hitting players in the head when you have made a living. You made a career on absolutely knocking people's head off their shoulders. That's all I got to say. So I saw Ryan Clark put something out, and funny enough, follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs. One of my guys I follow, I believe it's Harley Duggan. He put out a highlight tape of Ryan Clark hitting guys. Yeah, I mean, absolutely wild. We'll talk about more about this game and more coming up, but got to tell you about the sponsor of today's show, and that is Prize Picks. Get started with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there with over 5 million active members. Join the Prize Picks community today and become part of the best daily fantasy sports app out there. You can win real money all football season long. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long. You can now, with as little as 4 correct picks, turn $10 into $1,000. I'm telling you, it is amazing. So get started. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So get started today with Prize Picks. Run your game. And, this game by the Texans, this game between them and the Jaguars, it wasn't pretty. I'm not going to lie to you. It wasn't pretty. First half, it was 6-3. The Texans were leading. And I am a little worried about the Texans. I will say they need the bye week bad. The Texans absolutely need the bye week bad because these guys were dropping like flies. There was a time where back-to-back plays, Nico Collins got injured for a short stint, and then Dalton Schultz got injured, and then a couple plays later, Joe Mixon got injured. Now, all those guys were able to come back into the game. Jimmy Ward was injured, was able to come back into the game, got injured again. You can tell the season has worn down on these guys, and they absolutely need a rest week. It could not come at a more perfect time as you get ready for your next 3 games. I mean, it's going to be a gauntlet. I'm not going to lie to you folks. If I didn't say I wasn't a little worried about the Texans' schedule coming up, I'd be lying because obviously you won that Week 13 game up against the Jags. Week 14, you have a bye, but these next 3 games, you have Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens. Last game against the Titans, which thankfully you have another chance to beat the Titans after they, absolutely embarrass you in Houston. But, yeah, I mean, this slate is not pretty for the Houston Texans coming off the bye week. And I absolutely need them. I need them to pull it out. I need them to make the playoffs, because if they didn't, it would be an absolute collapse for this team. Now, as a reminder, I will be covering this team on a daily basis here on the channel. That's why you got to subscribe. Nonstop videos all year long. We had over 70,000 people join us for our live watch party for Texans and Jags. We're going to be doing more watch parties every single week. Daily videos around your team. And even in the offseason, draft coverage, free agency coverage, the dog days. I got you covered here on the channel. The best Texans YouTube channel out there is Texans Today. So get started. Go down and hit that sub button and join us for daily Texans content all year long. Now let's get back into CJ Stroud and my thoughts on his performance. 22 of 34, 242 yards and a touchdown. And it sucks because the O-line actually, I thought, played decently today. And I know people will point to, the Jags don't have the best pass rush. They're not ranked as a top pass rushing team. Come on. They have a number 1 overall pick in Travon Walker, who's good. They have Josh Allen Hines, however he hyphenates his name now. On the other side, he just got paid. He's really good. And they have Eric Armstead in the middle. This is a good Jags defensive line. The Texans held up nicely in pass pro this week, much better than they have in the past. I still think the pressure's kind of gotten to CJ's head, honestly. If I had to be honest with you, I think the pressure's kind of gotten to him where he kind of forced some balls. He kind of made a couple throws where he had another second or so, and, he was just worried about getting hit. And even in the opposite, I think, his internal clock of when the pass rush is coming is totally off this year, because he doesn't really trust his guys up front. And not having that trust with your front 5 and whoever's lining up your blocking, it's going to affect you. And I think that's happened with CJ Stroud's psyche this season, because he's good. I mean, obviously these numbers, he had a good game, but it's not the CJ Stroud we love and remember. It's not that CJ Stroud that brought the Texans back in that game up against the Bucs last year. It's not the CJ Stroud that we saw have a magical game up against the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs last season. It's just not the same guy. And I think that's been multiple things. He's trying to, live up to the hype in that second year. His offensive line hasn't done him any duties. His number 1 target, Nico Collins, was out for multiple weeks. Stephon Diggs was out multiple weeks. But all those at the end of the day are excuses for CJ Stroud. And he knows it more than anybody. I watched the post-game interview that he had on Fox, and he didn't seem happy with himself. He didn't seem like he was really confident. He didn't seem like he had that swagger about him, and that's what I want to see back out of CJ Stroud this week. That's what I want to see out of CJ Stroud moving forward. And with DeMeco Ryans and Bobby Slowik, I don't think a change needs to happen. I think, as weird as it sounds, I think it might be too late for you to make any moves along your offensive coordinator's spot. Just because, you're going into, right now would be the only chance, because you're going into the bye week and you have 3 tough games in the playoffs. I don't know if it makes sense this late in the year to fire Bobby Slowik. But I ask you once again, Texans fans, are you in or out on Bobby Slowik at this point? Let me know. Are you in? Are you out on Slowik? I think de facto I've got to be in. I think de facto I've got to be in on Slowik. And like I said, it's not because I necessarily believe in Slowik. It's not necessarily because I think he's a really good offensive coordinator that can turn it around. I don't know what to do with Bobby Slowik, man. Felt like the Texans took their foot off the gas, not only on the offense, I don't want to just say just them, and on the defense. Both sides of the football, they kind of took their foot off the gas towards the end of that game. But I think de facto I got to be in on Bobby Slowik, because I don't think it makes sense to make a change right now. I think you got to wait till the offseason, see how the Texans do in the playoffs. If they're one and done, if they're out wild card weekend, you gotta give him a new OC. I'm sorry. You got to. It's not working. It's not working. I'll give him this year. I'll give him to the end of the playoffs. I don't know if I can give him anything more than that. There's a ton of great Texans content creators out there. I mean, a ton of guys. Like the Texans 22 podcast. I know Landry Locker, Cody Stutes, Seth Payne. A ton of really good Texans content creators on YouTube and on Twitter and on other platforms. I think I've been the most lenient with Bobby Slowik out of anybody. I've given him the most chances. I've given him the most excuses. But at this point, it's a put up or shut up league. And if Slowik can't put up, he's got to go. I don't know if it's necessarily this week. I don't think it should be. I think you got to give him till the end of the year with where we're at in the season. But making it hard for me to keep on defending him. It's making it real hard. That's all I have for you on today's show. We'll have some more breakdown from this game, some more breakdown from the Texans versus Jaguars. I got to watch some more film, kind of look back and see, just because Texans defense has me a little worried. I'm not going to lie. They almost kind of crapped the bed. They let the Jags and Mac Jones drive on them at the end of the game. I don't know where the front four didn't look as dominant as they usually do. This Texans defense just looked tired, to be honest. Derek Stingley had a really good game, but besides that, the defense looked pretty tired. So hopefully the bye week does them well. Hopefully those guys can get some rest. I'll be back this week with more coverage around the team. I got you covered. Make sure you hit that sub button. Follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs for more Texans content. Until next time, Texans get a dub. My hair's turning gray. But we still got a dub. H-Town, hold it down.